something to scream about.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Something to Scream About.
The game show.
The game show. On tonight's show, on my left, we have Cameron the Bulldog Darcy. Yeah, beautiful. And on my right-hand side, we have Morgan the Fingerer.
Excuse me?
I was talking about finger picking the bass, okay? This is where we're starting. Morgan the Fingerer.
I was not expecting that to be my title.
Thank you. All right, and I'm your
There you
host, Jordan Alexander. Let's sit down and have some fun. All right.
What is on today's podcast, gentlemen?
Well-
Gentlemen! D-J-E-N-T. Gent.
The gentleman.
I like that.
Don't you dare call it. You're going to trigger so many people that listen to this.
Because they don't like the
thousands
gent.
of listeners that we have.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm
16
so out
of them.
Yeah, I'm out of touch in the scene.
So on today's podcast, I'll take over since Jordan's useless. He's a drummer. Don't worry about
first
it.
thing
Anyway,
we must. Yeah, I'm going to take over now. We
Argument
must address
on
the fact that there's only 3 of us on the couch today.
Yes.
Sadly,
Sadly.
Andy has left the band. We wish him all the best in the future, but we just want to
Much
address
love.
that. Salute to Andy.
Ow,
and
that hurt my arm.
yeah, you shouldn't have done
Oh,
that.
we can talk about that.
We can talk about that as well.
Segue.
Start with that.
We just tried to learn skateboarding, like we said in the last podcast.
Yeah, I
hobbies
got
and
injured the
shit.
first
As
time.
we keep saying.
And so I thought it would be cool. It's fucking trying to learn a trick when it's pitch black in the dark and it's like 6 o'clock, 6:30. There's like no sun.
Right
And
before band
rehearsal and a
Moondog.
gig. And I tried to ollie out of a quarter pipe, and then I went straight up, and the board just went foof, and just went the wrong way, and then I landed smack on my arm. Nice job, dickhead, doing a burnout on my street. Griffin is getting bogan. We saw a guy steal from the fucking tobacco shop last night.
Yeah.
He like put a hoodie on and he ran in, grabbed shit, and he grabbed chargers. And then I walk out and I talked to the owner and I was like, What did he steal, bro? He's like, he just stole some chargers, phone chargers. That's all he stole.
Yeah.
So if you see any phone chargers in Griffin on Marketplace.
This is one crazy
Anyway.
opening to a show.
Yeah, anyway,
My God.
what was I talking about? Oh, mom. And then, and then really, really badly hurt it. Still went to rehearsal. And then after rehearsal, I went to hospital, freaking 4.5 hours.
You were sitting there with your arm
In ice.
in the bin, which
Still
was
doing-
filled full of ice.
And still doing vocals.
Yup.
And because I'm committed to this damn band, man. And then I went to the emergency room after rehearsal, and they were like, "When'd you do it?" And I lied because I was like, "Fuck! If I say I did it like 4 hours ago, they're gonna be like, why didn't you come in sooner?"
Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
Band rehearsal, man.
Yeah,
Don't
and then-
understand.
Yeah, then I got some X-rays and stuff, and then they couldn't get any answers to me for a few days, and then they called me a couple days after, and then said, "Yeah, you fractured your elbow and your wrist." So had it in a sling for like 2 weeks, and played Moondog with a sling in my arm, so that was cool. Didn't get
That was
Yep.
didn't
Couldn't
get to
play guitar.
Yeah,
You still did well, though. I will give you the credit where it is due. Even though you were a little chicken wing in your sling, you still managed to do very well, and your screams sounded pretty damn awesome.
They were dope.
I felt like it was easy to scream without having to play guitar because I was only focusing on one thing. When you're playing guitar, it's like my brain's trying to think of the notes to play and the rhythm and that, and then I'm trying to think of like the throat, coordination of like shaping the soft palate and the diaphragm pressure to get the scream out. It's pretty hard, but
Yeah, and then having a guitar strapped around you.
You were jumping around the stage a lot. Like,
yeah, I
it
was
looked good.
getting out of breath. I was like, I went to, halfway through one of the songs. I was like, dude, stop moving so much because you're not going to be able to rap. Because I was like, I think you can see it. I think it was on Reality Check. Oh, you hear me go, stop. And I go, and I had to finish the rest of the bar because I was like, fuck, I can't breathe, because I was trying to rap and run and jump around stage at the same time. So that was pretty funny. That's what's me
That
trying
was
to
such
get
a
my
fun
fitness
show.
back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, good show, man. Moondog was fun. Awesome being on a bigger stage for once. That was cool.
It sounded more epic having it like a bigger room, filling the natural reverb
Yeah.
space.
I
and
wasn't
then-
squished in a corner for once.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
everyone, I was like, I don't know, up on this little riser and stuff, and felt like I could see everything. It was nice. It was really cool, and lights and smoke
Yeah,
machines.
we got
and-
some dope photos.
There's some
Yeah,
the footage
they
is
did
cool
well,
too.
those
There was good
photographers.
lighting, and so that was fun. So that's where we're at. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about as well, just a little bit of backstories on us and
Who
just
we
on,
are.
on where we sort of came from, each of individual, like how we got into music to start with, and letting you listeners know more about us personally, as instead of just as a band as a whole. Because when you listen to our music, you listen to everyone, and all together. But then it's cool to know like the individuals behind each thing,
and how we became to be the people that we are, and influenced by the things that we are to then bring those influences together. I know we've spoken a little bit about kind of.
Shout out to Ollie too, by the way. This is Ollie's idea, Oliver Jack.
Oh yeah,
thanks,
bro.
Thanks
for sending some stuff.
I'll not see your last name on podcast.
Well, our last names are on podcasts. Like, we have a very small community to start with. We have to remember these things.
Fan, like that show.
Yeah,
the fan base.
Fan, yeah.
The fan's gonna be
Shout
there.
out Ollie, our only fan.
Only fan.
So like our community is small but growing, and we're thankful to have it. So
We love each and every one of you.
Yeah, and let's go. Who wants to go first? Who wants to jump in and?
I'll
talk
do
a
it.
bit?
I'll
All right.
do it. People bitch.
Pick me.
Yeah, cool. So, oh my gosh, where do I begin?
Yeah, how did it all start?
So,
Tell us.
My parents met, and then I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I started writing off poetry and stuff when I was very young, maybe like 8 or 9 years old. I started writing like little poetry things. I'm not going to tell the story about the girl that rejected me. We'll just leave it at that.
You
Wrote her
little
a
sweet
poem.
romantic.
Yeah, it didn't work, did it? Fuck you, Emma. Anyway. I still remember her name.
Hashtag fuck you, Emma.
We're going to have to find her and send this.
Yeah.
Look at me now, bitch.
So I started writing poetry and shit, and writing lyrics to songs, but I never actually put it to music yet. Like, I was very young. I used to enjoy the wordplay and the puzzly sort of figuring out ways to portray things without it being, talking.
Say some like more meaningful
That
things.
you love
and,
Dr.
like,
Zeus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just fun. So I started off doing that, and then I became a dancer maybe around the same age as well. I started breakdancing, was what I thought was really cool, like the cardboard box on the ground, like very 90s.
Yeah.
Like, I was into b-boying and graffitiing.
Could you do a head spin?
Yeah, I could actually. Yeah,
Fuck.
windmill.
Like where you're on your head and
Yeah, not very long. I could probably do maybe 4 or 5 spins before I'd fall over.
That's
but
insane.
Yeah,
Though.
I just to legitimately do it.
I couldn't take my hands off the ground, otherwise my neck would break. Now.
I don't think I've ever
I don't
done a
think I was doing
handstand.
it properly. But I did that, and then I loved b-boying, graffitiing and drawing different tags and stuff like that. And then from there, took from the dancing. I got into a dance troupe at school in high school, and then pretty much we would just on a couple times a week before school started, we'd like run through like a dance routine and stuff, and we'd enter like competitions around. And then pretty much that was how I started in getting into music, was because I was like, I wanted to make the songs to like dance to. And I started making DJing first and started like transitioning, like what you were doing for that client the other week, like transitioning songs for like dance mixes and stuff.
Yeah.
Just doing little like and then like tape stops and stuff like that to like
and
transition
then the new song
songs.
starts in.
And
that's
then
cool.
then from there I was like, I want to make something for me to like dance to myself. And then I downloaded FL Studio, just the trial version when I was like 10 years old, 11 years old, and then we actually went on YouTube the other week and found songs from 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Your old hardstyle
little
mixes.
little
They were
hardstyle
sick.
techno, like that's like shuffling was really cool back when I was young, and I used to do that too.
So
did
you should link in the description.
Actually, probably should.
Ollie shuffled too, so fuck you, Ollie.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Stitcher.
I used to shuffle.
Yeah, so it was cool, man. And then, I started really young, and then as I got older, like towards 16, 17, I started getting way more into like heavy metal, and Slipknot was obviously like many people, and Linkin Park.
Yeah,
and
we talked
Limp
about this
Bizkit
in one of the other
they were like
podcasts.
my first like into that new metal genre, or even just metal in general. And because I've always loved hip hop and rapping, when I heard the new metal genre, it was very much up my personal alley of like, I love the heaviness of the guitars and the bass and just the sheer, heavy's probably the only word that comes to mind, like just the brutal like headbanger, like, you know, because I've never liked hip hop in regards to the beats personally. I've always loved hip hop because I like the way that rap sounds and I like the wordplay. But the beats, I actually can't stand hip hop beats. Like even now, I can't listen to hip hop. If I'm working out and going to the gym, I can't listen to hip hop
because it's boring.
It's just boring and it's repetitive and it's like, sorry to any rappers out there, I'm a rapper too. Like it's just like it's just you got to understand like these beats, man. They don't do it for me.
They're not all boring, but
not all,
but you like. You know, there's very rare because of the way that it just works. You've got like your 808 and stuff, and you just need something simple. And like you said, it is the majority of the wordplay over the top that matters.
That matters, yeah. When I listen to rap, I'm listening to that. I'm listening to like ad libs and vocals and things and how they're, you know, layering the song and then what they're actually saying. But yeah, so new metal and stuff, started getting into that, and then I didn't even play guitar when we started the band. I always wanted to be in a band and I never pulled the trigger on it. And then pretty much when about 18 or 19, I'd worked a bunch of different jobs, kept quitting, you know, because I didn't like it. Then I go to another job and I didn't like that, so I'd quit and I'd go to another job. I was just bouncing around and I didn't really feel like I held my place anywhere. I was very like, I hate this. This is crap. Like, I don't want to. I was part of growing up and maturing. I just didn't want to accept what working was like. I didn't like having a boss telling me what to do all the time. So but I would never just not have a job. I always worked, but I was just bouncing furniture removalists. Then I was in a Ingham's chicken factory production line. Then I was warehouse forklift driving, And then eventually I joined the army and I served in the army for about 2 years, just under. And then they hurt my back and whatever. Won't even get into the army talk because I'll be here all day talking about that whole thing. And then I was like, what do I really want to do with my life? Like, what do I really genuinely want to do? And I was like, well, I love fitness and I love the gym and I love music. So I went, all right, just fucking whole thing to the wall and just went, started personal training, did a course. And then that's how I met another dude that I originally started the band with. And then that didn't end up working out with him. But then through him, we met Andy, and then Andy got involved, and then through Andy, actually not through Andy, through me, I met Morgan at another job that I worked at in electronic engineering place up in Brendale. And then Jordan, I've known Jordan through the gym because we used to train at the same gym and we'd chat and stuff, and he was a PT there, and he ran me through a session once, and
probably very poorly.
It was the worst session ever. He had no knowledge on anything. He was like, get on the bench press,
I
bro.
remember you saying the other day he hurt your
He hurt
shoulder.
my shoulder.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
think
bro,
I
you
told
hurt my
you,
shoulder. And he was like, just keep fucking pushing through
Just
it.
push through it, mate. Just stop being a bitch. I was like, I taught you how to be.
That was back when you were big. What happened, bro?
Well,
I got him.
that's true.
You're on some substances. What? Who said that? Anyway.
Yeah, creatine. Creatine and pre-workout.
And that's it. Nothing
That's
else.
it.
Definitely.
In your leg.
Nothing else at all.
And yeah, so that happened. That was cool. And then
Yeah.
what next?
And then
Oh wait, we're here. That's us.
pretty much. And then I went ham with the music studio. Just started every single bit of money I earned, just invested it back in better gear, bought more plugins. Every time if it was my birthday or something, I just asked for money to put towards music. Anytime I went to work, I just every little bit of money that I earned, I would just buy, better music equipment, better gear, watch tutorials, and just eventually when I was doing gigs, because I was making rap beats to my own stuff, I was in the hip hop industry for a lot longer and just doing a lot of shows, a lot of gigs there, and rappers would always come up to me and be like, like, who makes your beats, who mixes your stuff? And I'd be like, well, I do it all myself. And then I would just get the clients in that way, and then just word of mouth grew, and now I've got my own studio here.
That's sick. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When was the moment where you, like, if there was one, where you felt, okay, I can do music and music's my thing?
Yeah, that was
like,
cool,
what-
man. I do actually have an answer for that. That's awesome. So
Sick.
I was in Cleveland. Oh, I just popped my elbow out again.
Ooh, I heard that.
Oh, yeah. So, so I was in Cleveland. I was still living with my dad at the time before he moved to Melbourne. And I originally constructed like a vocal booth from Bunnings for like $120. We bought 4 doors, we bought some hinges and some nails, and we nailed it all together. And then I grabbed all my acoustic padding and I super glued it to every single door and made a booth. And then I
Sick.
drilled a hole in the bottom of the door on the other side so the cords could get through. And then it was like a full
That's dope.
like little vocal booth, man. It was about $120. It was
mad.
really cool. And then I did that, and then I had some clients come around. No, sorry, they weren't even clients yet. They were friends to do music. And it started off as that hobby, and we're like, oh, we'll do music. And when they walked in and they saw my big studio monitors and all my gear, they were just like blown away by it, sort of thing. Because we're like young blokes, so had no one. We're all just dudes that rapped.
Everyone's like, holy shit!
Yeah, like, and then they were like, oh, you got a studio, bro. And then they would be like, oh, can you mix my stuff? I'll pay it. And I was like, oh, and then it was like it clicked.
Yeah,
I was like, these guys want to give me money to mix this up, and I was like, well. And then at first I had that initial thought of like, I'm not a producer, and then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I know what I'm doing. I've done, mixing. I do my own stuff, and they obviously have heard my songs and my raps, and they know my mixing ability. So they go, okay, if they've heard that, and they go, we want to sound like that. And then I'm like, okay, well then, yeah, then that's how it started. It was like, oh, I can actually do this. And it was a combination of that moment mixed with the fact that I've done so many different jobs. I've been in the army. I've been in forklift driving. I've been personal trainer in a gym. I've done, all sorts of different stuff. And music and personal training were the two things that I was like, this is like it. This is I can see myself doing this forever. Can you calm down, Mintball? So then that's where I'm at today. So it was really cool. Met a lot of awesome people. I'm sure Ollie, if he's listening to this, he's waiting for me to talk about all the shenanigans we got together. We did as teenagers, but
we can get into that.
I don't. I'll see what he says after this, and maybe that could be another podcast idea.
Yeah,
is just funny stuff, like not even about music. We can just talk about funny stuff that we've done throughout our lives and share some funny stories.
I've got some stories.
I have a lot that the police should know about. Anyway. So that's me, guys, and let's move on. I reckon that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Classified.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's
Should we flip a coin for who's next?
No, you can go next. I've already flipped it. You're going next. So, where did baby Morgan get conceived?
Baby Morgan.
I'm joking. We'll skip forward a few months.
Well, if you couldn't tell by my accent, I'm British. I was born in the UK. I was born in a place called Gloucestershire, which is pretty close to Bristol, if you know where that is. A lot of people know where Bristol is. That's West Country. I don't have as strong an accent that I should have. I should sound like a farmer, but I don't, or a pirate.
I think you kind of do sometimes.
Sometimes, there's some words. But, I was born in the UK, in Gloucester. Fuck, my brain's gone.
That's all right. Well, what sort of thing did you get involved with music first up? Like, how did that start for you?
I've always loved music. The first thing I learned how to do, technology-wise, was turn on my parents' speaker system and put on my music.
Yeah,
or their music at the time.
And then they're obviously often parents' music influences.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so your dad did heaps of music growing up, right?
Yeah. So my dad was in a band before I was born, and he was in a band called the Ray Guns, which was a old school rockabilly band, and he did that for years. And before that, he was in a band called the Burnt Baked Beans.
Oh, I love that.
Which is great.
The Burnt Baked Beans.
So he's always been into music. So I've always had someone musical in my life, and he's always had guitars.
I was going to say,
around,
you grew up with about 1,000 guitars around your house.
And it took me for ages to learn how to play it, but one day I said screw it and picked up a guitar and started learning things just if there was a guitar around so I could play it and impress people. That was literally the only reason I started, and then it actually came in useful amazingly.
Music, that's music, I guess.
Why when put on the spot, my brain just goes...
Dude, because you like that cunt that's in school and someone says everyone share a little something about themselves, and you're like, I don't know anything.
I had a million ideas.
Yeah. What's my name?
Yeah, I was listening to Cam talk, and I'm like, okay, I can talk about this and talk about this. It's
always the same.
Comes to me and...
It's always the same. She's like, hates being put under pressure, and then you'll be like,
put on the spot.
Yeah, and she'll be like, she doesn't know what to say.
We can just interview you.
So pretty much, I lived in England for 7 years. I had a bunch of friends in England, and one of my best friends in England that I had back then, I got in contact with recently, and I found out he's also a bass player in a really cool band over in the UK.
That's sick.
So,
and their music was awesome, by the way.
Their music is
I
sick.
remember you showed me some of their
Subcultures.
stuff.
What's the name?
Subcultures.
Subcultures.
Yeah,
Look
really,
'em up.
really good.
They are
good mixing.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, so that's cool, man. And
Yeah.
then
So I moved over here when I was 7. Moved to Scarborough to start with in this lovely house, and that was my first experience of Australia. It was on the water. It was
what was
lovely.
the difference like growing up from there to here? It's pretty hard because you were younger.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Melbourne personally and then moved to Queensland later. And even just moving in the same country from Melbourne to Queensland for me was a massive
It was
difference.
wild.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can compare, well, the big difference I say when someone asks me what England's like compared to Australia, everything in England's more pastel. Everything in Australia is so much more like vibrant color.
Yeah.
That's just how it feels. Like
Yeah.
just the feeling of it, the actual colors.
What
and,
about people?
Sadly, I think the UK has like a lot of, well, because I'm from the UK as well.
Yeah.
And
Initially.
New Zealand. But we'll get to
Well,
that.
yeah, we'll get to that, I guess. But yeah, so like I find that the general English attitude is similar to the Aussies in a way. That's like, when you ask someone, how are you? They go, it's like, not too bad. It's like, it's
Yeah.
always like, not bad, rather than like, I'm fucking awesome. But the weather situation, the kind of, it's like damp and wet and beige feeling. So I think general attitude is like a lot kind of, everyone wishes they were in Spain or in
Spain's the
Australia.
big
Or,
one
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's not as that kind of, they want to be in a place that's a bit more vibrant. And stuff.
Aussies
So
are very out there, though,
I
for the
totally
most
get that.
part.
True. Well, yeah.
Our culture is very
outlandish.
loud and very
Yeah.
like, hey, go on there, fucking oath, mate. Like,
Yeah. So that would have been.
I do love the UK.
fair bit
though.
of a shock. Yeah,
I do absolutely
exactly.
love it.
Don't get me wrong, I love it too.
suffer
but-
with heat.
Yeah, yeah.
As I'm saying this, as I'm dressed in jeans,
I
a
was
hoodie.
going to say, how many pairs of shorts do you actually own, or singlets, and then
Probably could count that on one hand.
Yeah, there's your problem. So,
But
we can chop some
that's
off for you,
besides the point.
fix that point.
I'll wake up one day and you'll just have chopped all
Yeah,
of my jeans
you've
across.
got only shorts and singlets
Yep.
and everything.
Oh, God, please
fine.
don't. So no, I moved over when I was 7. I moved houses a fair few times. Schools is a bit shit.
everyone had crap.
Yeah, it started all right, and then as the years went on, fucking shit happened. Not gonna delve into that too much, but I'm sure you get the picture if you went through school as well.
Yeah.
But no, through school,
But that shapes you right for the future.
yeah,
though. So
definitely.
that's another important thing of this podcast is being like, you know, like with like if I detour back to myself shortly, was like a lot of the negativity stuff that's happened to me, whether it be school or you know how I negatively got like left the army because of my back injury and how that stopped me from being able to achieve a lot of things. It also opened my eyes for a lot of things as well. Especially me, I was very angry for a lot of years of just at fucking everyone, at family, just from shit that happened when I was getting raised. Parents, angry at my parents, angry at, you know, friends that betrayed me and angry at the army for just being like, oh, we hurt your back, see you later, like medically discharged and being a lot of stuff like that. But then like hanging on to that anger is so much worse than just like
100%.
So yeah, so there's a lot of things that, you know, you can switch negative things in your life and eventually you'll get to a point where you just be like, what am I doing? Like, why am I holding on to all of this? Like, I'm just walking around this angry dude that you can just look at wrong and I'll just want to start you and fight you. And it's like, why? Why am I acting like that? Like, chill the fuck out. And now I'm a lot better now. I'm being able to just, you know, I have my goals and I do what I want to do. And I'm not focusing on what anyone else says, I don't care about anybody else. It's just like, I'm doing what I want to do. And that's what matters. And look how much better off I am now. I own a house and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
My mental health started I started getting bad mental health developing at a very early age. So I went through school with shitty mental health, and I'm a very anxious person, and that was why my school was so bad.
Yeah.
The schooling was so bad because I was always very nervous, anxious, couldn't reach out to people.
Yeah.
As much as they tried, and my school kind of towards the end they really tried to help me.
That's good.
Which I'll give them that. But I ended up leaving early, didn't do much with that. Then started focusing on me a bit more for a couple years and developing myself as a person and getting over these problems which I've had, which I'm in a band now and I've got bad anxiety and I can play on stage. So
Yeah,
like
there
I'm
getting there.
working there, and I feel like I'm saying this so to show that if anyone else has these kind of awful mental health problems, like it doesn't limit what you can do in life. Like you can
All that
be whatever
matters
you
is
want
that
to be.
you are trying to fix them.
Exactly.
No
You've
one's
gotta
saying that if you can't hold down a position somewhere or if you can't get out of bed and you're
Yeah.
finding it hard to socialize, it doesn't mean that you can't. You have to live your life like that.
Exactly.
You need to be, if I can say anything, especially with my own fucking issues I've had,
Yeah.
is like you need to try and fix it. At least try. No one's saying you have to succeed.
You got to
No
at
one's
least
saying
have
you
the
to do it.
mentality that it
You got to
needs
try.
It, like
you have to
it
at least
doesn't
try.
own you. Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest. That's the biggest step.
You
is-
I've always said that anyone that has depression will understand that there is no cure for depression, and you will never beat depression. It's not like something you can beat. It is something that you learn to deal with, and it's something you learn to cope with, and you learn to let it, like you said, not control you, not
Yeah.
let anxiety control you, depression control you. You just learn to be like, okay, this is a part of me. It's there. It's never going away. No
Yep.
matter how good things are, no matter how well I'm doing, it is always going to be that stupid negative little thing
Yep.
that's in the back of your head that'll just come in and it'll, poke you every now and then. You just have to learn to go, nope, rewire your brain to just go, get out of here. I'm not listening to that today.
Something which
Yeah.
I've learned as well is that when it comes around, you've got to understand that it's there, and you like depression for say, because I feel like everyone goes through their down phases. Like whether you've got depression or anxiety or not, like you go through the phase and you have to like accept that it's going to happen, and you just rough it out, kind of. Like
This last
you go
week
through
I've
it.
been crap, and then I only
Exactly.
just got my sleep pattern back together today.
Yeah.
I only just woke up today at 6 o'clock, and I was like, oh, finally, but I had to go through this whole thing all this week. Just like I wasn't productive with music, and then I was feeling guilty because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not
Guilt is a bad
doing.
thing
Yeah,
as
I'm like,
well.
oh, you're not being productive. What are you doing? You're just sitting at home all day doing nothing. And then I'm like, then I just get into this negative. But then I said, yeah, you have to try. And then I sat here and I was like, no, I'm going to try. Get myself out of it, and here I am 5 days later, and I'm back to normal, and I'm like back to sleep pattern, back to doing podcasts and music, and we're going to go to the skate park later, and we're good to go. Everything's all right. So yeah, it's good, man.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Anything else, mate? To finish it up.
Yeah,
before
I'll
we get to
talk
Johnny
about music
Porter?
a bit more because
that's all right.
going through school, I was the quiet emo kid. If that
Some
surprises
hilarious
any,
photos.
if that surprises
There's some
anyone,
really good photos of him when he was
yeah,
a child.
if that surprises
Blue
anyone,
hair
I
or
was the
some
emo
shit?
kid. Huh?
Blue hair or something.
Oh, that was
yeah?
when I left school because you couldn't have that during school. But I had a massive fringe during school. I
had
was
Justin Bieber hair.
I was the emo kid.
Emo kid.
But so that I went through so many phases of music. So I started off when because when I was young, I grew up with my uncle a lot, and my uncle was into like 90s dance music. So I grew up loving that shit.
Fuck yeah.
It was. I love that. I
That's
still
sick.
love it to this day, like just nostalgia reasons.
Yeah.
Then phases after that, I got into like because I was around my parents a lot, and they listened to a lot of radio, so I was into like just normal radio music that was big during like early 2000s and all that. From there, I moved on to dubstep when that was in its early days,
Like Skrillex.
That's
early
sick.
Skrillex and all that
Early
stuff.
dat
Scary
sick.
I
Monsters
got
came out.
yep. I got laughed at to start with for liking dubstep, and
People laughed at me for rapping.
Yep.
And then 3 years later, all the dudes were rappers now.
Yep.
I'm like, you freaking made fun of me when we were 13 when I was rapping. And, oh, you trying to rap. And then freaking they're all 16, 17 and everyone's a rapper or a DJ. Shut the fuck up.
it was
Fucking
funny
sheep.
though because like I went through
Let's
this
go.
massive dubstep phase and kind of hid it from everyone and just listened to it in my own time. And like when it came back, like 3 years ago, I went like to EDM events, like dubstep events, like hardcore dubstep events with the same people who laughed at me for liking dubstep
Yeah.
back in the day.
That's right.
Oh, this is
Um,
cool now. Let's follow the
yeah.
trends.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck
But
your friends, man.
yeah, then during high school, I got into like the edgier sides of music. So My Chemical Romance, Amity Affliction was huge for me. I loved Amity. Bring Me was massive as well. Bullet for My Valentine, all those kind of like emo, just classic bands really. And it wasn't just metal as well. Like Panic at the Disco. I loved 21 Pilots. Mine's going blank again. But yeah, just that kind of music. And then that developed into, I liked rap as well during that stage. And I was listening to just classic white boy rap like Eminem and all that. And then I think I was going through the end of that phase when I started meeting Cam. And then I got introduced to nu metal as a genre more than just, oh, that's Slipknot. Oh, that's what they sound like. I understood it a bit more, like Linkin Park and all that. And now that I've been obsessed with that since, really, that's most of what I listen to is a lot of.
It's actually
metal
funny
rap.
how when you think of a lot of the times when bands make music, a lot of the time the music that the bands make isn't even the music that a lot of the band members personally listen to.
No.
Have you noticed that? There's a lot of times where once bands have made it, you know, a singular person from that band will go off and do something else on the side, still in the main band, but they'll go off and do
Totally
side
different.
projects with other stuff. It's like what you and I are doing. We're doing some EDM rap stuff and deep house and doing like...
I still love EDM, with a passion.
So it's like, it's just cool. It's
I
like
love
how
dubstep.
everyone's always got... You know, I'll still be doing rap. I'm working on a rap EP at the moment, just as a solo under my Bulldog alias, freaking artist name, whatever, as a little side thing. Because I took a break from rapping for ages, and then now I sort of like, oh, you know, I might get back into a bit of hip hop and
you
So,
should.
but anyway, down to Jordan now. So, what about you, Mr. English, New Zealand, Australian?
Yeah, well, I suppose I can start with that. Like, I was born in the UK, same as Morgan, in a place called Cambridge, and I was shipped out with my family as we all moved overseas to New Zealand when I was 3 years old. So don't really remember the first initial parts of growing up in the UK, but since we had the majority of our family over there, cousins, grandparents, whatever, we were fortunate enough to be able to travel over there relatively regularly to go and see them. So that made life a lot easier still to be sort of connected with the family, which is awesome. But yeah, grew up in New Zealand for the most part until... Well, I think it's about even now, the amount of time that I've spent in both New Zealand and Australia. I moved to Australia towards the end of high school, which was like interesting in itself because that's a move where you have like the majority of your friendship groups
Already.
Relatively built up.
100%.
So I had like...
That was what was hard for me about Melbourne to
What age was
Queensland.
that for you?
Same way, but end of primary school.
Yeah,
So I went
exactly.
straight into high school knowing absolutely no one.
Yeah.
And I had for like fucking ages, man. I had no friends.
It
and
makes
was
it
just
very
hard.
difficult. Yeah, I think like in any sort of... I've been fortunate enough to have a very supportive family and stuff and like have a very positive environment around me like the majority of my life. A lot of it, the sort of tougher times that I faced were more just internal feelings of not fitting in. I think mainly just because in a lot of ways like my calling's a little bit different to some other majority in the mainstream sort of stuff, and like we're saying, trends that people often follow just wasn't for me, and I just found like I enjoyed my certain things and was who I was and felt I couldn't fit in. So that was kind of where it came for me. But once I was able to realize there's a lot of people that are supportive in my life and, you know, wanted the best for me, then it doesn't matter about those things anymore, and you already fit in. So yeah, in terms of like music wise, my dad similarly was in a band. When
So was mine,
younger.
actually. I'll just
So
point that out as well.
there you go. It's all common. My dad's band's called, well, he's obviously not in it anymore, but they were called Blind Mice. And he was rhythm guitarist and vocalist. And I grew up around dad playing guitar. My grandmother, dad's mum, is like a beautiful musician, has played piano and organ and stuff her whole life, singing, choir. So there was always music of all sorts around growing up, and that sort of really helped shape like the eclectic styles that I like. I think primarily to start with, I was listening to like rocky stuff, like even old, and it was old English stuff that Dad used to like, even like things like Madness and all this kind of stuff, and then New Zealand bands like Crowded House. Then I moved into some more mainstream things like Green Day and
Oh, Green Day was another one on that list. I
My
love Green Day.
Chemical Romance, I suppose, as well. But like things like that. And then I got into the harder stuff as I was in my teenage years, getting into metals, getting into like Parkway Drive, especially when they were first coming up in Australia. Like that was really cool. Bullet for My Valentine, Avenged Sevenfold, huge Avenged Sevenfold fan, Bring Me the Horizon, all of these things. But also a lot of classics. Like I was always listening to things like Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, like all of these like old school kind of bands, rock and roll bands that helped kind of just have this general rock feel to it as well as metal. But what I really loved about metal was the rhythms and the drumming, which is a lot of the reason why I started drumming. People like Joey Jordison, shout out. Again, that's really sad, but he was one of the dudes that got me into drumming because it was just so sick.
I was watching videos on him the other day.
Yeah, he was a machine. And just like watching those kind of guys and the Rev from Avenged Sevenfold play this metal and have it so rhythmic and sound so cool, it just made me really want to get into metal drumming. When I first was starting music in school, the only outlets, like there was no real like rock stuff.
Yeah.
It was just like blues, jazz, funk, Latin, all of this, and then big orchestral classical stuff. And like the big orchestral stuff bored me to absolute tears, like sadly. As beautiful as the music is, the drumming in it is so boring.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be on the kit. I was always in big jazz, big bands. I was playing jazz, funk, Latin for ages. I was gigging in corporate environments, playing that, both in and out of school. And then sort of I would learn the metal on the side because I never had any outlet. So I was like, I just like it. It's fun. I'm going to learn these songs. I'm going to just learn the double
Blast
kick.
beats, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to learn all of that just because it's fun. And then turned out to obviously be somewhat useful, even though
I can't believe you weren't even the drummer when I first put you in the band. I didn't have no idea. we were working on a rap EDM song, and that was the Welcome to My Jungle.
Yeah.
And I saw a bass guitar in the corner of the room, and I was like, do you play bass? He's like, oh, I fuck around on it. And I was like, bro,
as we said in the first one, a dabble.
Yeah. I was like, my band needs a bass player, bro. And then we needed a drummer as well because the drummer just freaking went MIA on us. But anyway, and then we're like, all right, well, and then I think
Is that bass guitar over there?
It is, yeah.
And it was like a week or two later, I think you said something like, oh, I'm more comfortable on the drums though. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you're like, oh, I'm a drummer. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah. And then now you're...
That's very true, yeah. I just was like, I was in so many bands at school. Like, I was never doing any classwork. I was always playing the drums. That's something I was very grateful for, having a school that really just, I could do that. And it also gave me the opportunity to go over to Beijing for the Olympics and perform at various like cultural events. And like we played on the Great Wall of China, we played in Tiananmen Square, we did like so many cool things where I was like, but that was marching band. It was really awesome experience. And like I was playing marching snare drum, and that's where I have a lot of my sort of marching kind of abilities.
Knowledgeable on counting.
Yeah, counting
notes
subdivisions, all that kind of stuff. Like I've always, like you ask anybody that knows me, I've always like fidgeted, tapped on stuff, like drumming and just making noises all the time. So it was just natural that I was just going to be a drummer. And my uncle was playing drums for a bit in one of his bands, and like it's just it was always meant to be kind of drums. Rhythm was always like my thing. Funnily enough, though, I'm a shit dancer. Like, I can do some freestyle like wacky stuff, but I can't do that. Like I'm really terrible at that. But they say if you got rhythm, you can dance. But no, sir.
I was definitely born with rhythm personally, for sure.
Yeah,
beatboxing
I feel that way, but
well.
I see you've got that with your syncopation in your raps. Like you understand the way things fit together.
Yeah,
and like it's cool. But dancing I can't do.
Unless it depends on how many drinks you have.
Yeah,
anyone can dance if you have 10 drinks down, bro.
Yeah, but see, my one's more like twerking and slut dropping.
Bro, I did a
backflip
on the dance floor once when I was like 18.
Backflip?
Yeah.
That's hectic. I love that.
Surprised I didn't kick anyone in the head.
Yeah, that's pretty. Oh,
But yeah,
that's wild.
that's funny as.
That's part of your breakdancing like thing, though, eh?
And I broke my back. Now I'm fucked.
Yeah, you ain't gonna be doing any backflips now.
Nope. Cool, man. So
That's pretty much
so
it.
music's
Yeah.
pretty much always been
It's been always
part
there.
of most of our lives. I would
Yeah,
say.
it's always been fucking something for me. So
It's been my escape most of the time. So that's
Yeah.
why.
You actually weren't that keen on the band when I very first asked you. That's a good thing
True.
to bring up. You're a
True.
bit like,
because
what was that about?
I was heavily involved in my EDM projects and the way I was doing things, and I hadn't.
And you hadn't heard us, so you had no evidence of whether
had
we were
no,
any
yeah.
good.
Well, just to be fair,
Because if I'd have showed you one of the songs and it was, you
yeah,
would have been like, yeah, nah.
yeah, I'm like sorry.
But what
No.
song did I show you first?
I honestly can't remember. I think it might have been Spliff.
No, it wasn't that long ago. I would
Yeah,
have
it's
had
a
other
pretty
shit
good
written by then.
You had a few ideas, but it wasn't. That was like one of the ones where you're like, I remember that one specifically as one being like one of
Yeah.
the first few songs. I was like, oh, sick. So, which these guys will probably never hear.
No, because I didn't write it.
True.
Well, that's fine. So it's like these things disappear.
Yeah.
But the that was probably the first one, and I was just like I was heavily involved in it. I hadn't been sort of in the metal scene since like probably 2010, 2011, 2012, these kind of years, and I'd taken some time to be doing EDM and
Yeah.
more sort
Well,
of
I think-
electronic stuff.
I think I pitched it to you as a side project anyway, because I was
Yeah.
like, look, bro, I'm doing my rap shit. It's just like,
I think
rap
you did.
was starting to get boring and stale to me because it was like a DJ just presses play and then a beat just plays and then you just have a mic and you just rap. And like no one ever gave you a
not
vocal
very
chain
engaging, is
live.
it?
Yeah, like the soundy was always some bogan, no offense, but it was like always some fucking bo. I don't care. What are you gonna do? Fucking
Yeah.
I'll fight you. I don't care. It was like every fucking hip hop gig was like bogan as fuck. It was like there's cunts that go there literally to start fights with people. You're like, what are you doing? This is a musical, creative space, and you're just like trying to act like a tough fucking. What are they called? Eshe, those fuckwits.
Yeah.
Like,
Eshe.
yeah, like come to fucking gigs and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's a like this. Yeah, this. It's not for me personally.
Yeah.
And then that's why I wanted to do this side project because I was like, shit, man. Like with an actual band, it's like you're literally having to have the not only the skills to play the song, live and in time with rhythm and put on a show, but then you also get the vocals and everything, and you get a vocal chain, and you have to link up instruments and amps and bass cabs and mics, and
It's just fun to
it's
be
just
able
cooler.
to play. Yeah, it's fun to play real instruments with real people.
It's more rewarding too. When you get off stage, you feel like, wow, that was a
It's an
performance.
adrenaline rush for sure.
Yeah, that's what drew me to it initially. The idea of just, even if it was something casual, like you said, I think you said just like nothing too hectic. Like, let's just, try and write some stuff. I was like, cool. And then when it evolved to be drums, it was even better. I was like, fuck yeah, this is my outlet that I've been looking for years to be able to play drums again.
Yeah,
and then, went hard with it.
It's so weird when everything just came together too with the band.
Yeah.
It was very like no one was like. We didn't have to audition people. We didn't have to go on Facebook and try and chase people down. We didn't have to hold like the auditions and have people come in. It was just so just like
You had a couple bass players come in before me.
we did have we did have a couple dudes try it and they just didn't fit the chemistry of what we look like what we said in other meetings. We're looking for people that are on the mindset that we're on and we're like one unit that can all agree on how we want things done, and when we critique each other, we all work together, and it's good without no negative energy, sort of thing. So,
Yeah,
those other guys that came in, they just didn't fit. They were nice dudes and everything, nothing wrong with them. It was just didn't feel that energy that us three have at the moment. So we just need to get onto that. But yeah, for the most part, it was like you just hit people up. We just went, I know Morgan. Hey, bro, want to jump on? Jordan, I know you. Do you want to jump in? It was just,
I'd been interested in your music for ages anyways, before I even joined. So it was a big, like...
I'm Faded.
Big-
That's my favorite song that
Faded is such a
I wrote
good
that at
song.
16. It's hilarious.
That's sick.
No, first song I listened to that I really liked of yours was Alone with you and your sister.
Oh my god,
That
that's
song
right.
is so good.
I'm all alone. Doo, 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 doo. It's like a house song.
Yeah, it's
Have you heard it?
great.
No, I don't think...
Bro, that song was playing in the Bottle-O once. I walked into
Yeah.
BWS and that song was on, and I was
That's
like, what the
sick.
fuck? Because I had it on Triple J.
It was so
Hell
good.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty
Sounds
much a
big,
good little insight into all us three
Yeah.
and where we came from, sort of thing. And we'll do another podcast in the future, I'm thinking too, as well, on like maybe the schooling system, because I have some heavy thoughts on the schooling system.
Yeah,
personally.
at the
It's
moment.
really cool. I think we can have strong things.
When
to
I
say
was
about it.
just to sum it up, talking about school before and saying it was all shit. I did have some good times in school as well. Like I did have some good friends. I don't like if any of them are listening to this. I don't want to think like I didn't have any friends back then because I had some really good friends as well.
People, you don't want people to have a negative view of school at the moment. School is very much what you make of it, and if you can learn these kinds of insights now, like if you are in school listening to this, then it's more important to be able to deal with it and make 100%. It your own.
Just speak your mind is all I gotta say. Like if you're feeling a certain way, just freaking tell someone, dude. Don't keep it to yourself because you're doing nothing.
You're gonna hurt
harm,
yourself
dude.
more.
Yeah, just freaking talk about it, and you'll be sweet. So. Yeah, boys, good stuff. What is that?
Is there
I don't know. That's
anything else we want to talk about?
No, that's it. Apart from the fact that we're probably taking a little hiatus from gigs for the rest of the year, focus on music.
That's a good segue. So just with the whole situation of what we're in now, anyway, we're Minty, we're ramping up this new EP, guys. So we're really trying to work on our sound, which we've said in other podcasts. What are you doing, crazy boy? So really trying to experiment with what is our ability, like how far can we push our current skill set at the moment. So, I'm trying to sing, and I'm not a singer by any means, but I've been practicing and keeping on pitch and, doing all the exercises and trying to get better screams, false chords and fries, not just one-dimensional, and really trying to put more choruses and melodic and leads and stuff in our songs. It's really cool.
We've got some cool melodic shit coming up.
Be excited for this new EP, guys. But yeah, like what Jordan was saying, we won't be doing any gigs. Definitely not for the rest of the year. Because we're just going to put all of our energy into this EP and, we try and get some slap bass going, really try and experiment with, different tunings. And I got a baritone guitar now, so that's really sick for lower tunings. And
sounds amazing too.
Yeah, I was playing it before.
It's so good.
No gigs for the rest of the year and just getting ready on EP. Might drop a single or something in between that time to keep you guys having some content for you.
We've got one in mind, single-wise.
Yeah, and I might chuck on some more tutorials as well.
Yeah, we still got...
Merchy purchies.
If you can see that, merch. If you...
merch.
If you feel so inclined to help us out and support us and get yourself a cool shirt, we still have those.
That's very true. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think that's it, boys. I think we're
well
good
done.
to go.
So now you know a little bit about us behind the scenes.
Yes. Where we come from.
Hopefully that was...
Cheers
something.
for the idea again.
Yeah, Ollie.
Yeah, let us know any more ideas.
So that podcast was based off someone inboxed us on Facebook and said, hey, would love to hear about this from you guys, a bit of backstories and stuff like that. So that gave us the idea for this podcast. So if anyone else is listening and you want to be involved and want to have
sweet shout out as well.
Yeah, give us a message, man. We reply to everybody. We're very, approachable, talk to everyone. Even
if you have any questions for your own shit, we're happy to help.
Yeah. And me and Jordan are going to be running the studio full time as well soon. So if any of you are in bands yourself and you want your stuff mixed and mastered and stuff, we're going to be offering those services quite soon. We're just building a website at the moment.
True.
And, so we're going to be, if you like the way our songs are mixed, and especially this EP is going to be much better mixed. We've learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Can't wait to implement new mixing techniques on this new EP. So that'll be another thing as well. So
that's it.
There you go, ladies and gents.
Oh, don't forget 5-star reviews only.
Yeah.
5 stars
if
only.
I see a fucking 4-star, I swear to God, I'll hunt you down.
Might even read out a review or two if, I think one of the real-time reactions is hilarious. Read through the reviews.
We'll have to get
But the one of that guy
to
said my voice was boring. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I was losing it. I was like,
you wrote a whole song because of it.
Yeah, I wrote that's what I do. When I get angry or something, I don't self-sabotage. I don't, just be like, oh, if you did it. No, I go, all right then. And I used it as motivation. I turned that anger into motivation and I wrote an entire song, the guitars, basses, lyrics, everything in like 2 or 3 hours, just non-stop in the middle
At
of the
like
night.
2 a.m.
Because I couldn't sleep. I was like so pissed off. I just kept thinking about this dude. Said my voice was boring on a review on Spotify, and I was like, "Whoa, I'll show you." And then I just wrote a whole song, and I'm like, so that song's on the EP too. It's called Enough. So there you go.
That song's sick.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Dope. Well, nice work, boys. Thanks very much. Thanks
Thank
for listening.
you.
We'll see you
Peace,
again soon.
guys.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye.